Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah, your medium on the go. And boy, this last week, the week since the inauguration, has really felt more like about 2 or 3 years at least. And so much is just so much is happening so fast. We just don't know what are we going to read on next. So, I will say that it's very interesting that with all of the awful stuff that's been going on, and that a week into this is Holocaust Remembrance Day, which can be pretty grim, and that it kind of inspired me to have this. The theme card of this reading is the devil, or the evil energy. And this card, I'm not the only one. This card has been coming up an awful lot with a lot of us readers in readings around him, around the felon. And so I was looking at it, and it can be a very very awful day to remember. But I was listening to a station. I've just discovered it. It's Touched by Tarot by a very interesting woman by the name of Fifi. And she did it. Her talk was on, a reading was on faith over fear. And she talked about the bishop that gave the sermon that MAGA world of love and mercy, that MAGA world just went nuts over. And yeah, and about how we have faith over fear. That this woman is fearless, and she has been, um, she's been getting death threats, but she standing firm, and she's not going to apologize. And I think she's been a very brave person. So this does throw light on the darkness, and a lot of us do believe we're going through some kind of dark times. And I think in remembering the Holocaust, which is the very very dark times of the devil energy. And um, to me, the devil is, I wasn't brought up in a religion that had the devil or any that sort of thing, but I will say this. I remember a long time ago when the Twilight Zone used to be on TV with Rod Serling, and he did an episode about this very dark energy that would just keep reappearing. With I think Jack the Ripper was an example, and it was, it was very much kind of like the devil, but it was just sort of like this dark cloud just kept coming up with these different people in history. It's been a long time. I can't remember the whole thing, but that I do remember about that. And that's why I think these times and what was going on in the Holocaust do have a similar energy. But it's pretty much up to us as to how far we're going to go down that road. So, and I want to look at, I want to take a look at a little bit of the comparison. Of course, how is it affecting us as opposed to what was going on in World War II? And so it really is the dark versus the light. But the devil really, in tarot, can't be anything unless he's got the people. Whoops, yes, unless he's got the people chained to him. And that's what feeds him, that's what keeps him going. That's what I believe, that's what makes him take this physical form. I wouldn't call that human, but I would say takes a physical form. And in some of the other decks, in this deck that I use a lot, this this gilded tarot royale, they show him as a very sexy buff guy, because it's kind of seductive. It's sort of like the things that sort of tempt us into evil, shall we say. So I don't want to make this a very long video, famous last words that we all say. But what I want to do is just look at a couple of these things, look at the comparison, and maybe have some hope that we can go into the light and have the faith above the fear, because the devil energy feeds, I mean, that's his big banquet feast, is fear from us. And so many from not only the more esoteric people, my crowd on YouTube, but that even like the Midas Touch and these other people reporting kind of more in the real world, reporting on this sort of thing, is saying we mustn't go into the fear. We really mustn't. In the metaphysical world, it's more about like go into the light, but part of going into the light is resisting. And it doesn't mean necessarily mean taking to the streets, but doing, like the Monday boycott, or, just turning off if you don't like the cable news because it did an appalling reporting of the campaign, you turn it off, and they pay the price for it. So first of all, I want to look at the how it's affecting us, and also along with comparing it to maybe what was going on in Europe in the 1930s, and the whole thing is that the timing is it's a little bit spooky, because it came to power right following a pandemic, and here we are in the shadow. I wouldn't say it's gone, but we're kind of in the shadow portion of the pandemic. So this will be the reading, and so it is about yeah, how is it affecting us today as opposed to World War II? So we're going to just see what these cards have to say. So we have the Four of Cups in reverse. This is feeling a little bit hopeless. I mean, in this card we have these three cups that are spilled, and the one that's really in behind, that's standing up, and it's hard for us to see the good or the things in life that make us very happy. And it is a card of grief, and I believe a lot of us are going through that right now. So we have this as the main card, and we cross it with the energy of okay, the Ten of Cups in reverse. I always look at this as right side up. They're just a little bit too happy, little bit too living in their fantasy world about, oh, rainbows all the time. And this is kind of like reality is hit. Reality is really hit, and that we may get the rainbow again, but right now it got really real, and we don't have that. So let's see the opposition card, the opposing energy card. Oops. I was supposed to do this. Okay. Oh, okay. The opposing energy card is the King of Wands. I think we're really looking for what this is telling me is that we're looking for a very strong leader that can be very inspiring, and we don't really have it, or at least we don't. I mean, the first person that pops into my mind, and that this is kind of a young, inspiring king, as I'm thinking of Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and how he has stood up to the bully, because the devil is a bully. That's how he gets people tied to him and enabling him, just like all these making excuses, like these cowards that are sitting in Congress. So then we have, let's see, underneath all of this, we have Ace of Cups in reverse, incredible amount of unhappiness and volatility. And it's not only with the we progressives opposing this, that this is going on between the so-called winning factions. The tech bros are all fighting and suing each other. Nobody can stand the muskrat. Um, and emotions are running very, very high. And we've got the January 6th guys out on the loose. But it's interesting because I did just before I did the reading, I found out, saw it in the feed, and then looked it up. But one of them got killed in an altercation with a sheriff, I believe, in Indiana for a traffic stop that really went south. Apparently, he heavily resisted arrest, and I think he had weapons. So I'm going to say that I feel as though the sheriff did what he had to do. But so there's going to be a lot of emotion and fighting over. I've already read a thread on this already, and yeah, it's like I can't even believe people are fighting about this. So we have the world in reverse, which means there's a lot of unfinished business, an awful lot. And, as they say, well, the devil energy is the energy. And I think and it's the energy of a sickness that has underlined our country since it began with slavery, indentured servants, and all sorts of things. And even the founding fathers had this. And, people have said, well, the Civil War never ended. I'm going to take it further back and say these wounds go way back to the colonial days. The Civil War, I mean, I think that whole colonial period was just absolutely working up to the Civil War. So we have the unfinished business that the history of this country. And then we have looking forward to that is that there's got to be a new way to do things, and maybe it means taking a risk and breaking out of the ordinary, which people in this country do not like to do. The United States is a Cancerian country since it was found, on the 4th of July declared the independence. But Cancer's kind of a homebody. They don't much like to go out, take risks. They really want to be home with the family. And sometimes you've got to get out of that comfort zone. So I think this is what we may be searching for, but it's not the easiest thing to do. So let me see. Go back to the big boys here. So in the past, behind all of this, in the past of I'm going to say in the Holocaust energy, we have, boy, oh boy, I tell you, cannot make this stuff up. We have the King of Wands, but now he's in reverse. And this is the tyrant. This is the dictator. This is a very, very cruel these kings and queens in reverse can be very cruel, but when you get it to the wands, he just wants to burn it all down. I would say also you could compare this to the new administration may not be doing an awful lot for California with the fires and all that, but this is the very cruel king. So this is, I would say, this is the Hitler card. And he came along as an inspiring leader, as he is upright, going to solve all the problems of the economic woes that came after the pandemic and World War One and all that sort of thing. So everybody kind of pinned their dreams on him. And then we have the sun. So this is about the upright. This is illuminating, shining the truth, that in a very innocent kind of a way. This is like, well, we're going to keep the truth from them because they're all children, so let's just feed them a bunch of propaganda, and that's how the ball got rolling. for the Third Reich. And this is kind of scary because I think this is really a parallel thing for today. So I'm going to do the conscious thoughts moving in between back then and what has been we've been building up. The conscious thoughts are the Three of Pentacles. It's all about, they made it with the Pentacles, they made it about the economy. It's about the economy. And this is supposed to be about negotiations. And he's kind of thinking, now, what story am I going to tell them about how we're going to fix the economy? And he has that look on his face like, I don't think he's going to be very truthful. So we've got this, the conscious thoughts. And here we go with the subconscious thoughts, is that it's all very troubling. It's all very, very worrisome. And I think this is with the people. It's like they, get caught up with this leader who is telling them, giving them all the stuff about how he's going to fix all their problems, but they're worried, and they feel that in this particular card, they feel the knives coming in, so they're really scared about crossing this leader. This is sounding more like today, but I think there is a pair. So this is this is a card of fear. So we're going to bring this around to the present now. I swear to God, I shuffled these cards. This is my card. This is my card for he who sits in the White House. No, the King of Pentacles in reverse has been my card for him because it's the corrupt king. People with pentacles in reverse in the tarot, to me, and these readings, are corrupt. They're corrupt, they're criminals, the whole thing. So then we have the King of Pentacles in reverse is kind of the counterpoint to the King of Wands in reverse. And I have to say that in this comparison, Hitler was at an advantage because he was younger and healthier. And he did have that fire in his speech. This one, he's not doing so well. This is also, pentacles are also related to health. So he's older and he's not in the best health. And I have to say, for entertainment purposes only. So this is where the comparison ends. So this is kind of where we are right now. So moving right along here, I want to do another one for the present. Okay. In a busy week where a lot of stuff has been happening, I find it curious that this one would be in reverse. But I'm going to say, oh, okay, as the old guides and the team tell me that these things may be darting out, but unlike this card when it's upright with good old Seven of Wands, that these guys they're not hitting the target. They're just arbitrarily flying in the air, and just, it's sort of like throwing stuff against the wall and see what sticks, or just shooting arrows and hopefully it catches the target and doesn't catch some poor slob walking by. So, but it probably is. So it's doing a lot of harm. So this is where we are, right next to this guy, right next to the King of Pentacles in reverse. So hopes and fears we have. Interesting. This is the victory of the election, but where are all the people? Oh, this is interesting. You just have a couple people here. That's all she wrote for the followers in this one. And it looks like it's really interesting because I have been getting into looking at the illustrations more. I think I'm inspired by Libby on my Meister Tarot. Is it, there is a story behind the decks, or different decks are a little different. This looks like, wow, this is interesting. This looks like the forest after a fire. And it makes me think of California with that's all that's left of the trees. So it's one of these victories that, again, it doesn't feel that real. There are only a couple of true followers behind, but it has a very, very hollow ring. And even with the wreath of laurels that the guy has on the wand, it's just very lonely. It looks kind of, I don't know, strange, I have to say. So here's a victory that nobody seems to be, not even he seems to be celebrating it. So there was the hope, um, the hope of the MAGA people of the win, but I think they're getting harmed by the economy and the tariffs and all. They're sort of wandering around and seeing that there is no forest anymore. And so now they're in a lot of fear. And when people have guns like they do, that's not a great place to be. Okay, so I'm going to see what kind of a conclusion we might have, or what's going to happen in the future. That Let's just see what the possibility for the future is. Okay, this is this is a card of indecision, and this is having the swords represent the thoughts and communication, but they're kind of crossing over. Even in this one, usually you have the woman sitting by the lake, but it's crossing the heart chakra, which means they're just going by thoughts alone, and and that not by you've got the moon and all that feminine energy with intuition and everything, yet she's blindfolded to it. So people are going to make decisions, but right now I think they're blindfolded and they're blindsided. So I think there's going to be a little bit about this. But it's also a danger card. It's also a warning saying history tells us you've got to take off the blindfold. You really have to take off the blindfold. I think I want to do a clarifier on this one. I think I need to know a little bit more. And there we have the Hanged Man, which is good because what this is saying is that card is screaming for people. They've really got to start to look at things in a new perspective, which is what the Hanged Man is about. And to step back and reflect a little bit on this whole situation in a new way. So it's kind of like you get your batteries charged so you know how to proceed. So I would that there is a little bit of hope in this, is that is the way that people are going to be forced to take a new perspective on this whole thing. Too bad they couldn't have taken it on November 5th, but that is it. So I would say that the concluding, let's see what the concluding card is. Um, Yeah, this is a mess that it's such a mess that it's really going to take a while to find our balance again. It will take a while, but it's in reverse. I'm just going to see what's it going to take for us to do that. And what this tells me is the Page of Wands in reverse is saying, grow up, grow up. And you got to change out of these immature, fantasies of hero worship. It's very interesting because the King of Wands in reverse came through, and it's about the little kid worshiping the guy with the power. So this is one thing that we have to look at, and it goes beyond the current White House resident and really taking a look at, we're back in childhood, like with all this stuff that we watched on TV and the heroes that we chose to make, going to the movies, and one of them became president and really created a disaster. So I think that there's a whole change that needs to be made, but I also get a feeling that people may be starting to become aware of this. They don't like it very much. Um, in fact, I think that what a lot of this is, really voters' regret. A lot of this is about the voters' regret, and like what are we going to do about it? So I'm going to do a very quick read on what we can learn from this. I have get the correct deck here. Okay, so what we can learn. Well, maybe I don't need to be so precise with this to give it a little shuffle. And so, what is there to learn? I think one thing to learn is that if you don't learn history, you're doomed to repeat it. But that's why I'm glad that I haven't heard any of those idiots in power saying we have to. Well, the one thing is that the Air Force talking about, well, they being ordered not to teach about the Tuskegee Airmen, but I understand what happened was that they said, to hell with you, we're going to teach them anyway, because that's a very, the segregation in the U.S. Armed Forces back in World War II was a very ugly part, and kind of like the counterpoint to, in fact, I remember, never forget hearing that the first liberators of, I think it was either I think it was Buchenwald, but I'm not sure, or Belsen, but was a troop of black soldiers who came, and I thought that was incredibly significant and moving. That when these people that were barely alive saw the American black soldiers coming, and I think that they just saw them as Americans. They saw them as their liberators. They didn't see the color. And so that's very significant, and that simply cannot be erased from our history. So I think I'm answering the question. Okay, so what, very quickly, and these decks are mixed up, but so they're mixed up. Okay, so the main card and what we can learn, and the main card here is the Knight of Wands. That I think what we've been seeing this week, the situation is we've been seeing out of control signing of executive orders without giving any kind of thought to, are they legal and this sort of thing. So there's a big lesson, and that's it's been a very scary lesson. So we've got the Knight of Wands in reverse. Oh, okay, we have the energy is death in reverse. So what this is saying is, this is often, I'm relieved that it is kind of in a way that is in reverse, because it's talking about near-death experiences and having to learn the lesson of things we need to let go of to move on towards those pillars of enlightenment. And so the energy is that it's a painful lesson to learn, of people not wanting to let go of things, but that it doesn't necessarily mean the death of the nation, but it means the death of, we've got to stop, pause, and maybe see the ending of all of this stuff that's going on. But because the guy on the horse, the Grim Reaper, he isn't stopping, whether he's in reverse or upright. So I will be traveling on. And whether you learn this lesson or not is really important. So it's a very hard one of what we're going to have to learn to release. So let's see, I'm going to cut these and this is so interesting. People ask me why I use multiple decks. Well, here we go. Now we've got the Knight of Wands upright, and he's on. This guy is on to do good deeds, but he's young, he's on fire, and he needs to rein the horse in to get a little bit more focus. But now he's realized what his goals are, and he just needs to mature a little bit to get it. So I think that maybe this is where we are as a country. Oh, interesting. We're getting all these youngins here. Okay. Then we have the Page of Pentacles, which is it's a new beginning, and he's very much in contrast to the Knight of Wands, who's just galloping. He's taking a pause to look at his future in the material world and the future of the health. And I think what this is saying is that maybe we go back to basics and sit in the classroom and learn the history of what happens when you don't take that pause and go and idolize the sicko leader. So this is, to me, this is kind of encouraging to see this. And then we have this has been coming up a lot in these types of readings when it deals with all this craziness and what's going to be happening. The cure for all of this, which could help us to avoid going back into repeating the mistakes that were made in Germany in the 1930s, is the sun. It's throwing complete openness and illumination onto the whole situation. And a lot of the fellow readers have been seeing that we're going to be finding out some truths, some really, really surprising truths that really could be a game changer. And there is the baby riding on, is that a unicorn or a horse or whatever that is? It is kind of it does show a rebirth. And with the sunflowers, with the way things are moving, I think maybe tomorrow, but actually the sunflowers are saying that quite possibly could be summer, or that there could be an early summer that could happen in the springtime. So this is very promising. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, this is very promising. But it's up to us. I can't say, oh, it's all of this is going to happen for sure. These readings for entertainment only are to kind of to pick up some energy. And actually, this is being in the light instead of the darkness of the devil. This is kind of like the anti-devil, because the devil energy, it really thrives on lies. It's got to have lies. It just, that's what it's all about. So this is very, very hopeful, and I do agree with a lot of people when they say it may not necessarily come from within the country, but I don't think that the EU and the NATO countries have been asleep since the election. I think that this is my intuition download portion of the program, is that with the Sun card, is that they are taking a look at this in a way that we are not, because of the fear of we don't want to be like they were in 2020 and all this sort of thing. The NATO people, they don't have to worry about that. When the truth comes out, we're going to get the big band-aid ripped off, and whether we want to hear it or not, but it is going to be epic. I'd love to think it would be by the summer, but the sun is about the illumination of the truth. So I really think there could be something big with that. So, with that, I will leave that with you, and I will see you again soon. Bye.